weekend, 56-13. They beat the defending state champs in Tennessee on their home field. And the championship game is December 3rd. They've won 11 straight games. Trent Dilfer, the Andy Reid of of Nashville, Tennessee high school football, is now joining us live. 56-13, a win. And Trent, it's great having you on. First of all, congratulations. That has to be all the things you've done in football. I don't know where this is in the pecking order, but that's got to be an all-timer for you.
It really is. I'm so happy for this community. The boys, they've worked so hard. We still got some work to do, but it's been a great ride. And just this entire community's buy-in, the coaching staff, the players, administration, parents, you name it. Everybody's rallied and really allowed these boys to have a special season.
Oh, that's great. So, Trent, we know Patrick Mahomes has a great arm, but I don't know if you ever had him in one of your Elite 11 classes. But there is a confidence with him, just kind of this, his ability to play from behind. When you look at him, is some of that like genetics? He is so comfortable with a minute to go. He's so comfortable playing from behind. And as we know, many great quarterbacks have not been, that's not their strength.
Well, yes, we did have him in camp, and I asked him if he was going to pursue football, and he said he wasn't. He was going to pursue baseball. So I'm still angry to this day that he didn't say he was going to play football. Of course we would have had him. You nailed it with confidence. He has such physical confidence and confidence in his preparation and skill set that he never panics. There's never, ever, ever a moment of flinch, a moment of panic. He doesn't hurry things up because there's chaos in the pocket or he sees a new defense or the time on the clock or the score in the game. There's just this calmness to him that allows him to do things that, frankly, I've only seen one other person do, and that's Brett Favre. And I would argue that Patrick already is better in the game situations than Brett was. He's just an amazing talent to watch. He physically can do anything. So it's not hyperbole when you hear these people say he's as talented as any quarterback that's ever played football. I would co-sign on the statements. But then there's that extra thing that you mentioned. It's his supreme confidence in his ability, in his offensive system, in tackling the world when the world's against you. I mean, there's just nothing that makes him get out of his comfort zone, and that's why you see these phenomenal things week in and week out from him.
Listen, so much, the program you've turned around, coaching matters, and it can really matter for a quarterback that feels shaken, like Derek Carr. So, obviously, Gruden and Derek Carr, this is the best. It's almost as, I look at Derek Carr, who I've always liked, and I'm like, I'm not sure if he can play better for the talent he has. So, what do you think Gruden did to turn him around? Because he was really struggling 3 years ago.
Yeah, I think you got to give Olsen, the offensive coordinator, Gruden, and Derek all equal credit here. John came in. He said, I'm going to change everything you've ever learned. And Derek's been taught some good stuff. It's not like he was chopped liver. One, Derek bought in. You know, most veteran quarterbacks are like, what are you talking about? I'm pretty darn good. But he bought in, and he was totally open to a retooling of everything, of his operation, let's call it that, because it's more than just his technique or how he looked at the game, but the entire operation. He's become a coach on the field. I think every great play caller wants their quarterback to read their mind. I tell my quarterback all the time, hey, bro, at some point you got to read my mind. We got to be thinking the exact same thoughts when a call comes in. And John's accelerated that with Derek, and it's like having a coach on the football field. People talked about how cool it is to listen to the quarterback run the show at the line of scrimmage because there's no crowd noise. And I get it. If you're not accustomed to hearing all the stuff that an NFL quarterback does at the line of scrimmage, this could kind of blow your mind. But what Derek's able to do is John can give a call, and Derek can just pour gasoline on that call with his ability to get up to the line of scrimmage, look at defensive line technique, linebacker profiles, secondary profiles, matchups, protection, run game, action game, movement game. He's got the whole toolbox at his disposal, much like Peyton Manning did back with the Indianapolis Colts, and he's just done a great job of managing that. He's also making great decisions. You know, the old West Coast philosophy was all about getting the ball in playmakers' hands as fast as possible. There's 2 checkdowns last night that Derek makes in the first half. It's like he had eyes in the back of his head. He gets 4 deep into his progression, hits a check down, and they go for 10 to 15, 20-yard gains. I mean, this is mastery of the West Coast offense, both at the line of scrimmage and after the ball is snapped.
So let's go to the opposite of this, Joe Burrow. Obviously, Joe's going to be fine starting next year. I mean, he took some hits. He's very talented. He's a very confident kid, and the injury stinks. But how long can a Joe Burrow take a beating, and then the light goes off? Then the switch flips, and that he just no longer wants to get hit like that. Are you worried that another year like this of, hit 77 times halfway through a season, it starts to take a toll psychologically on a young player?
Absolutely. I mean, I think we talked about this early in the year. Nobody argues that Joe Burrow is a phenomenal talent. All 3 of these rookie quarterbacks are ridiculously talented, and I think all 3 are going to be great players. The danger in playing him early, for every Justin Herbert experience, which we can go on and on, how fantastic he is, how it's worked out unbelievably well for the Chargers, there's 5 Joe Burrows, where you take a super talented alpha male, you put him in there who's not willing to give up on a play, tries to be the hero on every single play, but you put him with a bad team, and you're gambling that his confidence is going to get wrecked over time, that his body's going to age too early because of the hits he's taking. And I would be very concerned if I was Joe Burrow going back to the same situation next year unless they make some drastic changes to better protect him both with talent and with scheme. If you watch Cincinnati play, it's not what Derek Carr is doing in Oakland. It's not what Herbert's doing with the Chargers. It's a lot of true drop back 5-6 man protection where you expose your quarterback to unnecessary hits, and he's every bit as athletic as Herbert. They could do a ton of movement stuff with him like they do Herbert. They could do a lot of condensed formations if they had the creativity to do it to protect them. They haven't done that, and now you're looking at a quarterback who's having a phenomenal rookie year, having to sit the rest out. So this goes back to earlier season conversations that it's not so simple, people, just to say play him. It's one of the dumbest comments made in today's narratives on young quarterbacks. Every situation is different, and you definitely are taking a risk if you play your young quarterback too soon and expose them to too much stuff.
I've always been a big fan of Carson Wentz, but there does come a point that everybody in life, divorces happen, resets happen. Drew Brees got a reset. Do you get to a point in Philadelphia where maybe it's the Nick Foles statue? I don't know. I'm not there. But would you think about, listen, it's just not, we drafted a kid, Jalen Hurts, something's not working, the fans are eating him alive, we're a loud city, something's in his head. Do you reach a point in Philly they may have to consider that?
Well, let's talk about something else first. And yes, I do think it needs to be considered. Doug Peterson's a friend, but if Doug called me and said, what the heck's going on, I'd say, coach him harder. Quit being so soft. You can't teach talent, but you can teach and coach discipline. You can teach and coach discernment. You can teach and coach team ball. There's been a ton of fantastic talents. I'll use Brett again. Brett Favre was reckless, off the field, on the field. He was a mess, uberly talented. And Mike Holmgren and that staff coached him as hard as any human being's ever been coached. Steve Young was coached hard by that staff in San Francisco when he came in and played like a hair's on fire and every play wanted to run around and be frenetic, and they coached him out of that. You can coach all this stuff out of Carson, and the team deserves you to coach this out of Carson. He's wildly talented, as talented as any player in this league, but he is playing awful football for an extended period of time, and I blame the coaching. If my quarterback did that, I would say that is my fault. It is our job to coach him harder and to coach this stuff out of him. I can't coach his talent, but I can coach the rest. And I think they've just done an awful job of being too soft on him and let him continue to do the reckless thing he does that costs his team games. Now, if they're going to say, well, we can't coach me harder, we've tried all this stuff, then it's time to move on, because this stuff is not going to change unless every single moment of every single day is relentless coaching of Carson Wentz to not make him so reckless with the football.
That's good stuff. We'll end on that. 11 straight wins for Lipscomb Academy. They play in the state championship December 3rd. Wow, 56-13. That must feel great. That must be an amazing feeling, because you told me for years, I asked you about coaching, and you're like, oh, NFL coaching, you have no life. I'd never see my kids. But you seem to be having the time of your life.
I am. And we have a huge challenge. You know, the thing about coaching, I told the kids this a few weeks ago when we were rolling. I said the problem with winning and winning championships is you really never get to smell your farts. You never really get to enjoy it. You never really get to sit back and breathe it in.